So when you first get into content, a lot of people tell you that Twitter is the place where you need to be. However, when you're a new creator, Twitter can be very overwhelming to join. So that's why I'm creating a beginner's guide to Twitter for content creators. So before we actually jump into things, I do want to tell you guys, I have created a Twitter for this channel at Content Galaxy YT. So for the next month, I will be trying out all the tips that I mentioned in this video on that Twitter. So follow over there to see updates. I've already been on Twitter on my streaming profile for about 5 years, but I want to see what it's like to start over. So please follow over there and see what it's like to grow a Twitter from zero. So the first thing I want to talk about is who you should be following on Twitter. A lot of the times when I see people join Twitter, I see them follow a lot of massive accounts, and then they don't have anybody to interact with and they slowly fall off Twitter. What you actually need to be doing when you start a Twitter is you need to be following people that you actually can interact with. This is how you curate your timeline to have people that you can always reply to, that you can always strike up a conversation with, so that you can meet more people and make new friends. A good way of doing this is actually going to an account that you already follow that might be a massive creator and going to one of their tweets that you feel like people that you want to interact with would be replying to. So here is Harris Heller. Harris Heller is a very large YouTube education creator, so he's already in the niche that I'm in and talking about the same topics that I would want to be talking about. But I know that because Harris Heller is a huge creator, I am likely not going to be able to interact with him directly. However, I know that there are other people like me who would be wanting to interact with people in the same niches, so therefore I can go to a tweet of his that is talking about the topics that I already want to talk about. He's talking about streaming here, and specifically hate rating in streaming, and I know that there's going to be a bunch of people replying to this that are people that I'll probably want to have conversations with at some point. So here, this person, Bradley Wells. Too many people missing the point in these replies. We don't deserve live streaming. It's very much said in the vein of we don't deserve dogs. I really like their opinion, and I feel like that's someone I would want to follow, and I can go to their profile and can go over their profile, and if I actually vibe with them, I would follow them. And I probably am going to follow this person because I feel like I would be able to strike up conversations and vibe with this person. And they don't already have a lot of followers. They're in the same category as me. They're just starting out on Twitter on this new account, and this is a potential friend, a potential colleague. Another way to find people that you want to follow is using the Twitter search feature. Twitter categorizes tweets using keywords. It's no longer using hashtags, although people still use hashtags, but Twitter, you really don't need to utilize hashtags anymore in order to find people on Twitter. So I'm someone who really likes talking about content creation, so I will search up content creation. And now at first, Twitter is going to show me all the top tweets about content creation, but this is not where I want to be. What I want to do is I want to go to the latest section, and then I want to find tweets that I would like to interact with. So here's a tweet. Redoing my stream setup and layout. It feels great. I love the fresh feeling. Cannot wait to get back into content creation. This is another person I feel like I vibe with. I want to cheer them on. I will absolutely follow this person to figure out, okay, what are they doing? What kind of content creation are they into? It intrigues me. And so I follow that person. I feel like that's a potential connection as well. So once you've followed enough people that you feel like you vibe with, you have an idea of how curated your timeline is going to be. And then you'll always have people on your timeline that you feel like you can actually respond to. In my opinion, you want to have a mixture of big accounts and small accounts that you're following. Now, as I mentioned before, the bigger accounts, you won't really expect to interact with them that much, but they would still be people who would be starting conversations, and there'll always be people in their replies that you would want to connect with, that you would want to have conversations with as well. And Twitter is very much all about the conversations you can have with people. So I'm going to switch over to my 5-year-old Twitter account to demonstrate this next tip. Now on this account, I've very carefully picked the people that I follow, and I'm mentioning this again because I want to talk about replying to tweets. Basically, the best thing to grow your Twitter and actually get to know people on Twitter is replying to people. What I used to do and how I grew my initial account is every single day I would make sure that I would reply to at least 10 people. When you're starting out, that's a really good number. Some people tell you to reply to 100 tweets a day, but I think 10 to 20 is a really good number because you actually want to be constructive in your replies. You actually want to have meat to your replies. What I mean by that is, for instance, this person is talking about Chris Pratt being just announced for the Mario movie. I could just simply do a reply like, lol, oh my god, that's such a bad casting. Or I could actually think out a thoughtful reply that would provoke the person to actually know more about me. I could make a joke. So there you go. Instead of just a lol nice emoji, I actually, since I know about this, since this was just announced yesterday, I already know that apart from Chris Pratt, Charlie Day is also in this movie, and I'm kind of excited that Charlie Day is in this movie. So that's what I'm basing my reply on, and that might actually urge the other person who's sharing the tweet to go out and see and think about what I just said and actually come up with a cool reply and reply to me, and we can strike up a conversation. So you have these little threads of conversations going with multiple people, and that's how loads of people get to know who you are and get to actually look forward to talking to you, look forward to your tweets, and possibly even follow you. Another good way that you can find tweets that you want to reply to is simply, again, using the Twitter search. The Twitter search feature is a very strong feature, and I highly recommend using it to its full potential. So again, if you have a topic that you really like talking about, I'm going to use Stardew Valley as an example here. Search up Stardew Valley. First of all, you'll get top tweets, and you can think about replying to top tweets. Obviously, there will always be people striking up conversations in the top tweets. But again, what I like to do is I like to go to latest, because latest has people who have just tweeted something, who are talking about the thing right now that you're also thinking about, and therefore have a higher chance of actually responding to your tweets, actually connecting with you, actually getting to know you. So for instance, in the latest, I found this person who's just started playing Stardew Valley, and they're talking about their experience, and I think this tweet is very intriguing, it's very thought out, and I want to reply to that tweet right away, and I actually even want to follow this person because of this tweet and get to know what they're actually about. Basically, replying to this tweet might actually lead to me finding a new person that I can connect with, finding a new person that might become a friend. So you see how you can utilize both the search feature as well as those you follow to have more interactions on Twitter. And I will say this again, the key thing that you should be looking on Twitter for is interacting with people, is finding new people to connect with. Twitter does boil down to being a social media at the end of the day. So to enhance your experience on Twitter, you really need to be open to those interactions. And lastly, this is usually the first thing that most people talk about when they talk about Twitter. However, this is something I feel like is not as important as actually interacting with others, but it is very important because you do want to be making tweets on your main account. And I recommend you only do one tweet a day from your main account. 1 or 2 tweets a day from your main account is perfectly okay. These are not replies, these are just tweets that you send out into the void for other people to find and like. So first of all, let's go over the types of tweets that you can make. You can post memes, you can post GIFs, you can post questions, you can post video clips, you can post a relatable observation, which I will get into what these are, you can post a polarizing opinion, you can post life update, and you can poll Twitter based on a question. So the memes and GIFs are obviously great tweets because memes are already relatable, they're already retweetable, they're already likable, and people might already respond to those memes and they might already be familiar with those memes. Questions are something that really pump up engagement on your Twitter. When I was initially starting out Twitter, I used to ask so many questions into the void, and a lot of people will find your tweets because of that, and a question actually prompts a person to answer, and therefore you get replies and you get to meet new people. A good way of going about this is ask a question about the topics that you like to talk about already. If you're someone who's really into Stardew Valley, we saw a tweet of a person who was talking about marriage in Stardew Valley. You can ask everyone which character they really like to marry in Stardew Valley, and a lot of people will be prompted to respond to that. A video clip can be something like a video clip of yourself or a video clip of something you like. I will mention, however, Twitter does have a 2-minute cap on video clips that you can upload to Twitter, so be sure to keep that in mind when you're posting a video clip. And in the video, you can have everything that a text tweet can have. You can have a meme, you can have a question, you can have everything. Now, the other things I mentioned was a relatable observation. A relatable observation is something that is an observation that you make that you feel like other people might also make. So a shower never thought if you subscribe to that. Basically, what this type of tweet does is it prompts people to actually retweet, and the retweet feature on Twitter is a very strong feature because it gets your tweet out in front of new audiences that might not normally see your tweet. So if you're posting something that's very relatable and highly retweetable, then it'll prompt people to retweet it because it's an opinion they also share, and therefore get your tweet out to more people. Now, this is something that is kind of controversial just talking about it, but a lot of people do engage in posting polarizing opinions on Twitter. What I mean by that is a tweet that people can either agree with or either disagree with. A good example of that is the opinion that I stated in the start of this video, is that you want to avoid following huge accounts on Twitter and mainly focus on people who are actually a relatively similar size to you. How I would word this tweet on Twitter is I would simply scream at people to stop following huge accounts because they do not care to reply to you, and rather follow people who truly value you. And I might even tweet that out on the Galaxy Content Twitter. That is a polarizing opinion that some people might agree to and some people might disagree to, because they might be on Twitter just to consume the tweets of their favorite YouTuber, just to consume the tweets of their favorite gamer, their favorite artist, their favorite actor. So in that opinion, they're completely correct, but it might still be polarizing because not everyone on Twitter is there for the same reason. Therefore, when you create this polarity, it prompts a lot of people to have discussions. It prompts a lot of people to reply. It prompts a lot of engagement, and that's how you really get people talking. Like I said before, Twitter is a social media, and therefore if you can increase the number of interactions that you have on the social media, it will have an exponential effect on your Twitter profile. It will increase your engagement. And lastly, on the types of tweets you can make are polls. Polls are a great way, again, to ask a question without actually asking a question, because you already offer some answers to the question. So it's kind of an enhanced question where you're asking a question. People have the ability to pick a canned answer if they don't want to respond, or they can still respond and tell you their opinion on whatever you're talking about. So it's a great way to prompt interaction yet again. Another thing I want to talk about with your main profile is something I see very often is you don't want to have more retweets than your normal tweets, because when someone follows your Twitter, they're usually following for your unique voice. If your Twitter profile is full of retweets and there's not enough original content, there's not enough of your original voice, people are not prompted to follow you or reply to you as often because you portray yourself as not having a unique voice, because you're having to borrow other people's voices. Lastly, I also want to mention that when you're making your tweets, it's a very good idea to also look at the trending section of Twitter. A great way to get your tweet out in front of a lot of people is to use what's trending. So let's say I know Chris Pratt is trending because of the Mario movie that was just announced. I could very easily craft a tweet using the trend, mention Chris Pratt, while also give the trend some of my unique voice, which would boost my tweet in front of a lot more people, because the topic is already trending on Twitter, and therefore Twitter is showing the trending tweets to a lot of people, but also then boost my own voice to a lot of people and prompt them to actually come and interact and follow me. I think for now that is everything I have to say about Twitter, but this is obviously just a beginner's introduction to Twitter. There is a lot more things you can do with Twitter. So at some point I do want to make an advanced user guide to Twitter, and I just want to show you what the possibilities are. So here's a sneak peek. So this is TweetDeck, which is a tool created by Twitter that lets you have a lot of curated timelines instead of your just one, based on keywords, based on trends, based on search terms. At some point I will be talking about how to utilize this as well to truly boost your Twitter experience. But for now, I think that's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to follow up at Content Galaxy YT on Twitter to see all of these tips in action, and also hit that subscribe button if you would like more videos like these. And thank you for watching. Good luck with your content.